Hey now, welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Michael Remis here in the host chair for Hustler, who's enjoying some fishing, some vacation time out at Aikens Lake. So pumped to be joined in a second here by Connor Hrabchak as we discuss the National Hockey League playoffs. How about Vegas? The 4-0 sweep over the President's Trophy winning Colorado Avalanche, and Vegas advancing to their third Stanley Cup in 9 seasons. What an incredible run here in 9 seasons for Vegas. 1 Stanley Cup, 3 Western Conference titles, 5 division titles. That is 9 banners in 9 seasons. And we talked extensively yesterday on why Vegas is the most hated team among NHL fans, and a chance to continue to cheer against them in the Cup final against the winner of Carolina, Montreal. Game 4 of that goes tonight. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, they're practicing preseason game Friday. And hey, Canada, USA tomorrow morning at the World. Maybe we'll touch on that. Got some great guests coming up on the show. Murat of The Athletic. He's got some great articles, columns, pieces, great pieces of writing out at theathletic.com. Which Jets prospects are NHL ready? Projecting roles for under 23 players for next season. And he also wrote about the ideal Winnipeg Jets offseason. And TSN's Marshall Ferguson will join us. We'll preview the upcoming CFL season. Love talking ball with Marshall Ferguson, Pat Gregoire of Cool Bet. At the end, we'll talk, what's the reaction to Toronto? Mitch Marner going to the Stanley Cup final, first season after leaving. He's also probably the favorite for the Conn Smythe. And we'll probably talk some golf as well. Before I bring Connor Hrabchak, shout out to the sponsors: Tri Hospital, Dream Lottery, Clean Line, Manitoba Battery, Rollies, Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, St. Vital Dental, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Winnipeg Gold Ice, Travel Manitoba, Assiniboia Downs, Aikens Lake, Breezy Bend, Little Brown Jug, and Cool Bet. Let's bring him in. Host of WST Sunday Live, Winnipeg Jets reporter for Winnipeg Sports Talk. He's done some Bombers as well. Connor Hrabchak, who I know was dialed into the playoffs last night, has a lot of thoughts about the Vegas Golden Knights advancing to the Stanley Cup final for the third time in franchise history.
Unbelievable. Yeah, that was an absolute clinic by the Vegas Golden Knights last night. We were talking about the game on yesterday's show, and we were, mentioning Nathan MacKinnon. How healthy is he going to be? He was obviously going to play. Jared Bednar didn't hide that fact, but was he going to have the same explosiveness? And then on the very first shift, you see Nathan MacKinnon buzzing around doing his normal thing, and you think, oh, okay, game on. Like, Nathan MacKinnon can move. He can use both of his legs, and he was clearly, favoring it a little bit. But what a performance by Vegas. It felt like Colorado had really nothing all night in terms of getting to the middle of the ice and generating offense. And Mark Stone with a sweet goal early on gave them the lead. They never really looked back. I mean, Colorado scored late to make it 2-1, and there was a bit of a push, but what a series by Vegas. And I'm still stunned, Remis. I still am. I know this was, a sweep. So there's been multiple games for me to have my jaw on the floor and to pick it up. But man, Vegas, I thought this was going to be a Colorado sweep, not a Vegas sweep. So I'm here today on a Wednesday edition of WST, absolutely shocked at the result of the Western Conference Finals. I don't know about you.
I thought Colorado, before the playoffs, there was no way they were not going to the Stanley Cup final. You look at Vegas, fewer than 40 wins in the regular season.
Yeah.
The fifth team in NHL history to make the final with that number. And you look on the inside, they weren't getting goaltending. a lot of their losses in the in the shootout, like how much can you read into that? And this is a team that's peaking at the right time, and you just saw them smother Colorado. They couldn't do anything offensively. And in the third period, where Colorado has been so good, in games 2 to 4, according to Natural Stat Trick, at 5-on-5, only one high danger chance in the third period. It was shocking. And I think the players stunned after. And talk about the President's Trophy. The last time a President's Trophy winner even got to the Cup final, 2011, Vancouver Canucks. And you look at, as we said, other times that you can compare this to, Tampa swept in 2019 by Columbus, also coached by John Tortorella. Boston upset in 2023. They had a historic season. And now Colorado swept in 2026. We remember the Jets last season as well, losing in 6 to Dallas, so close to forcing that 7th game. But it just seems shocking, and I'm not sure where you go from here if you're Colorado. Connor, a lot of questions about them. They have the one Stanley Cup, but it feels like they should be getting to more Cup finals.
Yeah, the team that they've built feels like a team that I totally agree with you, Remo. As a part of that core, it feels like they should have more than one. And then at the deadline this year, they add Nazem Kadri. They added Brock Nelson at last year's deadline. Like, they keep adding to this core. Gabriel Landeskog comes back from his injury. Brent Burns signs there. Like, Josh Manson's still there. Like, they figure out their goaltending, right? Like, it was Georgiev when the Jets played the Avs, and that Georgiev gifted the Jets that game 1 win, essentially. But they figured out their goaltending, or so we thought, right? With Wedgwood and Blackwood. And it still isn't good enough. They still got swept. It's crazy. And that's part of the reason why I'm so stunned at this result. Colorado on paper is absolutely loaded, but as the old saying goes, they don't play the games on paper. Vegas is built for that playoff style. They play a smothering defensive game, very similar to Carolina. And if that ends up being the Cup final, I think we're going to see a lot of 2-1 games in the Stanley Cup final between Vegas and Carolina. Those two teams limit shots really better than anyone else in these playoffs. It's the reason why they're probably going to meet in the Stanley Cup final. And how about Vegas going to the Stanley Cup final for the third time in 9 years with their third different head coach, Gerard Gallant, Bruce Cassidy, and now John Tortorella. So that says it all about Vegas. They fire coaches. They make trades. They trade Marc-Andre Fleury coming off of Vezina, all that stuff. And their ruthlessness has them back in the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, shout out to Mackenzie Blackwood last night, Connor. Did everything he could to try and force a Game 5, .923 save percentage, 2 goals allowed. And I think goaltending certainly a factor. You look at Carter Hart's numbers in this series, Connor, .944 save percentage. And, Colorado only scored. I mean, this was a team that was the highest scoring team in the regular season, 1.75 goals per game in this series after scoring 3.63 per game in the regular season. Significant drop off. And you look at the scoring, Colorado, I mean, Marty Necas, he had 2 assists. McKinnon, he didn't have a goal in the series, only 2 assists. Cale Makar, I know he was hurt for 2 games, but he's on, I think, a 6-game pointless drought. They just couldn't get the scoring. Gabe Landeskog, he led the team with 3, a couple other guys with 1, but only 7 goals in 4 games. And that's not good enough. In Colorado, it reminded me a lot of what Colorado did to the Jets and for the games 2 to 5 of their series a couple years ago. Overwhelmed them, got them off their game, didn't have any answers at all. We talked about Colorado's power play being bad all year. Maybe some speculation about a possible coach change there. You heard Tortorella after his press conference. He said, "Get off Bedsy's ass." I don't know if you heard that sound clip from Torts after, but I think a lot of questions going to be asked about Colorado, how you have this historic President's Trophy season and ends in total disappointment. Isn't that just part of being a sports fan, Connor?
Yeah, except if you're a Vegas Golden Knights fan. Yeah. It never ends in disappointment, right? There's always something. But no, that was part of the reason why I asked Dennis Bernstein on the show this week about Jared Bednar, because you and I are both sitting here saying Colorado with this core, we're stunned. how have they not won more than one cup? Well, some people and the ownership group of the Colorado Avalanche might point to coaching and say that Jared Bednar, doesn't adjust quick enough or whatever things that people think he should be doing. But there's a chance. Jared Bednar, widely viewed as one of the best coaches in the league. There's a chance he doesn't come back. Now, I still say it's more likely he does come back than doesn't, but unbelievable. And then the other side of the coaching, John Tortorella, I saw Waiters pointed this out in chat. First coach to sweep the President's Trophy winner twice. He did it in 2019 with the Columbus Blue Jackets over the Tampa Bay Lightning. That one was in the first round. That was one of the most infamous upsets in NHL history. I'd say that Tampa Bay Lightning team was an absolute wagon, and they lost in 4 games to the Columbus Blue Jackets and Pierre-Luc Dubois and Artemi Panarin and Bobrovsky back in 2019. And now the Golden Knights in round 3, where Vegas, let's call a spade, like they didn't look that impressive in the first 2 rounds against Utah and Anaheim. And that's part of the shock value of this round 2 is Vegas got through the Pacific, but didn't really do it in convincing fashion. They needed overtime a couple of times against Utah. They didn't look amazing. And then it's almost like they flipped a switch in this Western Conference final. Obviously, Colorado's play and or lack thereof really helped with that. But Vegas turned it on at the right time. They're red hot right now. They're playing into John Tortorella's system. And it was a very, very impressive sweep. And last night's game, to me, was the most impressive game of the series, and an absolute exclamation mark, if you will.
Yeah, not a lot of pushback there from Colorado yesterday. They did have the late goal, made you think, okay, this team's got it, but not quite. And yes, John Tortorella can become the 4th head coach in NHL history to win a Stanley Cup, with multiple teams joining Scotty Bowman, Tommy Gorman, and Dick Irvin Sr. So it's quite a list there. Wow. And John Tortorella, this is a coaching performance we're going to be talking about for a long time here. Even if Vegas, doesn't win the Stanley Cup, you can be like, hey, remember that time Vegas fired their head coach with 8 games left, and then Tortorella took him to the Stanley Cup final. I'm sure every team thinking about making a coaching change will go back to this or go back to when the Devils did it during their dynasty years.
Do you think if Vegas, they're obviously in the Cup final, do you think they end up winning, or even if they don't, this results in more late season coaching changes? John Tortorella is described as a guy that doesn't have much of a shelf life, but it's a galaxy brain move to be like, oh, there's 8 games left in our season. We can get the coaching bump right at the playoff, right in the middle of the playoffs. I don't know. Maybe more teams do this going forward.
Maybe you would be more likely to think that it worked because this time it did. And you saw Rick Bowness gave Columbus a boost for a while this year until, they fell off. I saw Jason Demers on X joke that maybe teams need 2 coaches. You just got to do a line change when one message stops getting through. You got to have one in the bullpen. Yeah. One in the bullpen ready to go. The part of the conference final that's always intriguing for me, Connor, is after the game they have the ceremony with the Campbell Bowl, and there's always the question, do they I can't believe we're still doing this. Do they touch it? Do they not? And I was sitting here being like, they need to celebrate with this trophy. They knocked off the President's Trophy winners. No one was really picking Vegas. We called them the pillow fight division, which I think we need to revisit that, but they did not touch it. And as I was sitting there, I did see Sin Bin Vegas, Ken Bolke, who we had on the program last week, point out in 2018, when they was the expansion year, celebrated. They touched it, but you know what? They didn't win the cup. 2023, they went opposite. They said, hey, we touched it last time. Let's not touch it. And they won the cup. So I can't really fault them for going with what worked. This is why superstitions are superstition, as dumb as they may be, as I don't really think there's any correlation between touching the Campbell or Wales Bowl trophy and winning the cup, but I kind of respect that, it was the same captain, Mark Stone, who said, hey, didn't work last time, or worked last time, we're going to stick with that.
Yeah, I mean, teams have their reasons. I know Florida, when they went to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals, I think they touched it the year they lost and then didn't the next 2. And obviously, Florida has won the last 2 Stanley Cups. So I don't know. It's a thing. Teams have their ways. And when you go to the Stanley Cup Finals 3 times in 9 years, yeah, you can look back and say, what did we do last time? Must be nice for the Vegas Golden Knights. But you brought up Mark Stone. The last minute of that game was so impressive to me when Colorado had their net empty and they're pressing for the tying goal. Nathan MacKinnon is basically like fighting for his life on the wall, and Jack Eichel is not letting him go anywhere. Vegas ends up clearing the puck, and then Mark Stone, I think, knocked the puck away from Makar and MacKinnon and Natchez 3 times in the neutral zone. Colorado didn't even get into the zone in the final 45 seconds of that game when they were pressing, trying to tie the game. So that just goes to show how impressive that defensive structure was for Vegas. There's buy-in from the top to the bottom of their lineup. You saw Dorofeyev blocking shots last night. He's not a guy that typically is going to be blocking shots. Jack Eichel is one of the best 200-foot centers in the NHL. We know Mark Stone is a Selke candidate, one of the best two-way players in the NHL. So unbelievable defensive performance by them, especially that final minute and a half when Colorado had their net empty. That was impressive stuff. I don't know how much of it is just Colorado rolling over and going, we got swept. But Vegas, they deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I mean, MacKinnon has the puck and Eichel's all over him. And you look at Vegas's lines, elite, two-way forwards on lines 1 and 3. Jack Eichel, Mitch Marner, and Mark Stone. Again, they built this great team, and we thought they were great. They were underperforming. Maybe they just weren't getting the goaltending, but they're getting the goaltending now. They're getting the scoring. Mitch Marner silencing a lot of the critics from Toronto. Could he be the next, Larry Murphy, the next Phil Kessel, the player who leaves Toronto and wins the Stanley Cup the next season? What a parade that would be when he brings it back. If he brings it back to his hometown. Alongside the Conn Smythe Trophy, you'd have to think Mitch Marner would be the favorite right now. And I don't even know who I would pick on Carolina if they were to win the Cup. It would probably depend on the final if they were to get there. But I think, Marner, Eichel, maybe even Carter Hart worthy consideration for the Conn Smythe.
Yeah, and then on the other side, Carolina, I mean, Frederik Andersen was there. Game 1 against Montreal wasn't his best, but is he still the lead guy for Carolina? Is it Taylor Hall, who I think is leading them in points still right now in the playoffs? And then Montreal, I think it's Dobish or Suzuki. It's pretty clear. I think it's pretty obviously Dobish if they go through, but the Conn Smythe thing is interesting. Mitch Marner, I saw Jay Fresh pointed out on Twitter, the knock against Mitch Marner is he's fine in the playoffs until you get deep into rounds, right? Games 5, 6, and 7. Well, turns out Mitch Marner had no points in games 5, 6, and 7 of the Western Conference Final this year because they swept the Colorado Avalanche. And Marner leads the playoffs in points. He's been awesome, and they were pointing out on the Sportsnet broadcast last night, like he plays in every scenario for them. He's the defenseman on the power play. He's first over the boards in the PK. He's playing a ton at 5-on-5, so he's affecting the game in so many ways. He's my Conn Smythe favorite right now for sure.
For sure, and we'll wait and see who their opponent is. Projected start date for the Cup final, seeing June 4. But if this one ends quickly, maybe it could be pushed to June 2. And yes, it is May 27, June 4, next Thursday. So some time off coming for Vegas as we count down to Game 4 tonight, Carolina-Montreal. And I'm curious if we're going to see more of what we saw in Games 2 and 3 from Carolina smothering Montreal, or will Montreal, have the puck, have some scoring chances, have some shots on goal. I saw Martin St. Louis talking about how they need to keep possession, carry it in, not as much dumping. But it seems like we're destined for a Carolina-Vegas series, unless, I don't know if this is not necessarily a must-win for Montreal, but going down 3-1, extremely tough for them.
Yeah, certainly. If they lose tonight, going down 3-1, and the series is going back to Carolina for Game 5, and then if it makes it there, Game 7 would be in Carolina as well. Not a spot you want to be in. So you want to feed off that home crowd. You want to feed off that home energy. And I think the Bell Center is going to be rocking. I think that's a captain obvious statement. Montreal is going to have to feed off that and hopefully generate some more offense. I know the Sportsnet broadcast was highlighting that they're targeting Lane Hudson a lot. They're hitting him over and over and over again. And he was still solid in that game. Obviously, he had the turnover on the overtime winner. but he did have the goal that tied things up for Montreal earlier on in the game. So they're going to need Hudson, Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky, this very young group they've faced adversity many times in this playoff run with multiple Game 7 wins. Here's another test, and they need to feed off their home crowd and get this win, because going down 3-1 against Carolina and the way that Carolina is rolling would be a very, very tough thing to do. Beating Carolina 3 straight times, with 2 of those being in Carolina, definitely a tough spot. So huge game for Montreal tonight. Just looking, our friends at Coolbet have Carolina as a -154 favorite. So still a road favorite, pretty big road favorite for the NHL playoffs by that standard. So we'll see. Can Montreal get it done? Do they have it in the tank to even this up at 2?
Can't wait for this one tonight, and then we'll have some time off, from watching hockey. Need some free evenings, Connor. It's been go, but it's been hard to turn away. I think even if you're not a fan of these teams, just the story of Vegas. First of all, you probably watch them, and them upsetting Colorado. I don't think anyone had that. I had Colorado, Carolina in the Cup final, but I think I had Vegas. I had Utah upsetting, and maybe we look back on the season where we said, "Oh, the Pacific Division is actually not great. Maybe it's better than we thought." Utah, they're a team to watch. Although Utah is a Central team. And Anaheim certainly up and coming as well. So a lot of pretty good teams in the West as we look ahead to next year. And for Colorado, Connor, I'm not sure, how they're going to try to improve as you look at their draft capital. No first-round picks in 26, 27, and 28. No second-round pick in 26 and 28. This seemed like they were going all in for this moment. They traded big assets for Brock Nelson last year, signed him to a contract. He was not effective in the playoffs, in the conference final. Nazem Kadri as well. He's got 3 more years left, traded for him. Brent Burns, what comes up of him? This was supposed to be get Brent Burns a cup, party like it was similar to Ray Bourque, over 20 years ago now with Colorado. So I'm curious how they decide to come back to next year. We'll talk about it more as the show goes on, but Connor, Murat coming on. He's got some good stuff in The Athletic for Jets fans, doesn't he?
Yes, absolutely. Earlier in the week, I did this myself, but it was great to see Murat do it in article form, and it was a great read. Projecting a perfect Winnipeg Jets offseason. He said it starts with a reality check and good scouting. So I'm interested to see what Murat has to say, what that exercise was like for him, trying to project a perfect Winnipeg Jets offseason. And then today he released a new article as well, projecting players under 23 and their roles for the Winnipeg Jets starting next season, looking at their best case scenario, worst case scenario, and then Murat includes his projection for the players as well. That's the Brad Lamberts, the Isak Rosayans, Elias Salamonson, Garrett Brown, Nikita Chibrikov. We'll get into all of it when Murat jumps in, but some very interesting reads at The Athletic for sure, Remo.
Yeah, can't wait to hear more about it. Murat coming up next, but first, here's us.
Folks, it's time to get your tickets for the Tri-Hospital Dream Lottery in support of the Health Sciences Center, the St. Boniface Hospital, and the HSC Children's Hospital. When you get your ticket, you're supporting important work at all 3 of our major hospitals, and you'll be entered to win a grand prize like we've never seen before. One of 6 $1.7 million dream home packages, or $1.35 million cash, tax-free, a life-changing amount. But the earlier you buy, the more you can win. And check out the early bird prizes available with the deadline of midnight Friday, June 12th. Early bird prizes worth over $257,000. And one big winner is going to choose between a 26 Land Rover Range Rover SE, valued at almost $190K plus $50,000 cash, or a 26 Mercedes-Benz G580 SUV, valued at $245K. Or you can take the money, $210,000 cash. They're also going to sprinkle 25 winners for the early bird 2 with $500 cash. So get your tickets now. You'll be in for the main draw. You'll be in for the early bird prizes. And again, it is all in support of the important work at our 3 major hospitals in town. Get your tickets today at tryhospitaldream.com. You can also get them in person at your local Red River Co-op location or London Drugs. But the best place and quickest place to do it is online, tryhospitaldream.com, in support of the Try Hospital Dream Lottery. We are into spring, folks, and that means it's a busy time for many people doing work. It's certainly a busy time for our friends at Cleanline Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. Of course, Cleanline, for over 40 years, has been Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers, featuring fast responses, lasting results, and most importantly to you, 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. You can check out all their services at cleanline.ca and schedule an appointment there. But you never know when you're going to need Cleanline. So mark down the number, get it in your phone. 24/7 emergency services at 204-500-2001. Again, that's 500-2001. When you're in a jam, much like Adam Lowry has the back of the Winnipeg Jets, Cleanline has yours with 24/7 emergency services, 12 months a year here in Winnipeg. Big shout out to Jeremy and the gang at cleanline.ca. Our friends at Manitoba Battery are ready for Bomber season. Very excited to be a new corporate sponsor of the Bombers and powering the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this year, as they've been powering Winnipeg Sports Talk listeners and viewers for years with the best prices and the best in customer service for batteries for literally everything. Head to their website right now at manitobabattery.com for the latest on the Deep Cycle battery sale, which goes until the end of the month, $79.99 with core exchange. And of course, as you get ready to get out on the water with your boat, on the highway with your RV, on the trails with the dirt bike, a motorcycle, an ATV, you need batteries for all those things, and Manitoba Battery is the spot where you'll save big money, beating the pants off the big box stores with the best in customer service while you shop local and keep your money here in the province. 2 locations to serve you, Logan Avenue, Dover Court Drive. Manitoba Battery also delivers citywide inside the perimeter. You can give them a call or order online today over at manitobabattery.com. And folks, if you have a move planned this spring or summer or into the fall, make sure to check in with our friends at Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. They've been doing it for over 60 years, and it featured the white glove service that has so many of their customers coming back for subsequent moves after they try Rolly's for the first time. If you are moving, go to their website at rollies.com. Top right corner, you can click on Request an Estimate. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And then simply let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to go. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they've been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, lean on our friends at Rollies Transfer, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today at rollies.com.
There he is, Hustler, back next week, but super pumped to be joined right now by Murat Atesh of The Athletic. He's been busy talking about the Jets offseason, looking ahead to the future as well. Murat, how's it going? Thanks so much for taking the time to join us here.
Yeah, it's been good, cranking out the offseason content, talking about Jets' future, and how are things going? The two of you running the ship. I'm excited to be just completely surprised, completely attacked. I don't know what the two of you run a show like, and I'm ready for it.
I don't know if we're gonna attack you, Murat. Well, it depends. Depends what you say. We'll get into it here.
My takes are bad enough.
Yeah, exactly. No, but your article in The Athletic today, no attacks yet, given I read it, and I agree with the majority of it. But let's get into it. You projected roles for players U23 on the Winnipeg Jets for next season. Let's start with some of the players that we saw down the stretch. Most notably, let's do Brad Lambert. After the trade deadline, he was up. What's kind of your view of Brad Lambert heading into next season? Best case, worst case, and where do you think he lands on the 2026-27 Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah, I love it. That's the format of the piece. So I get into like the absolute blue sky best case for everybody, the worst case as well. And for me, when Lambert got going at the end of this season, he was a much different player than he had been at the start. I liked the way that he used his speed, not just to go outside, but to go inside as well and kind of keep defensemen guessing. If a defender knows he's going to cut wide and stay there, there's not really much offense to be had. But I thought Lambert did a pretty good job of getting into the middle and producing a little bit of offense for there. So for me, the sure thing is that he's an NHL player next year. That's how I see it. The best case scenario sees him stepping into, let's call it the Gus Nyquist second line right wing type of job. And in his case, a best case scenario means putting that speed on display, contributing to the offense, continuing to get into the middle, getting some power play 2 time as well. And he hasn't put up a lot of NHL points to date. Some of that is minutes, some of that's just pure games played. But even in a best case scenario, I'm thinking 40 to 50 points. He's arrived as a secondary scorer, but it's going to be a while before he takes the next step if all goes well.
One player who arrived late this season, Elias Salomonsson, he seemed to make a big impact, and we thought he was going to have a big role this season. But with the offseason surgery, I think would you say that's a big blow to the Winnipeg Jets defense and shifts their priority this offseason as well?
I think so. I think, I just feel for the guy because when Salomonsson was called up earlier in the season, he told me in a one-on-one that he felt so about it. He'd struggled. But then his second call up around the trade deadline and after, he really felt like he turned a corner. And I saw it too. Like we had a top 4 defenseman in the making for the Winnipeg Jets. And for him to end with the AHL shoulder injury and surgery, 5 to 6 month outcome for that, it sets him behind the 8 ball. I mean, these young guys with modern medicine and all this sort of stuff, sometimes they heal quickly, right? But the most likely case for me is that his training camp is impacted by it. It means that it'll be a little bit tougher for him to step right into that third pairing right side job and then challenge for jobs higher up the lineup because, he won't have had time to build up that upper body strength around the shoulder. He'll just be getting going at that stage. So for me, it would be a positive scenario for him if he makes the Jets somehow out of camp or to start the year. He's waivers exempt, so they could assign him to the Moose and just get him going, getting back up to pro speed, and then call him up a little bit later. For me, a best case scenario for Salomonsson sees him healthy, starting the season on the third pair, and then competing and battling up the lineup. A worst case, and stop me if you've heard this one before, and this is truly worst case. It's not what I'm expecting. But let's say his injury goes into training camp, and then Winnipeg has, signed other defensemen to fill that right side spot. Call him Colin Miller, call him Jacob Bryson, someone like that, just a placehold. Then Salomonsson goes to the AHL to start the season, gets going there. By midseason, he's back up to speed. But now the Jets are in a playoff push, and they're competing for a wild card spot. And are they willing to try a young guy when things are going well for the veterans on the big club? And we've seen that happen to other defensemen in the past. I think Salomonsson is a cut above, and I don't think that's the case that's the way that it's going to go for him. But when you start your season by rehabbing from a shoulder surgery, the error bars are wide, and I just hope for good health.
Certainly. And a player that the Winnipeg Jets still need to sign, restricted free agent Isak Rosean. He needs a new contract, but I want to talk about him for a moment. I did my UFA RFA preview here on the channel, and I got a few comments on Rosean with people being very sure of what he is. He's not an NHL player, or he's a solution on the second line. And he, played just over 10 minutes a night for this Winnipeg Jets team. A lot of it with Jonathan Toews and Gus Nyquist, the 2026 versions of those two players. So to me, Isak Rosean, I'm still learning the kind of player that he is. What did you project for Isak Rosean next season?
Yeah, I really agree with your take on that, Connor. I think I saw it maybe on Twitter or a clip of it. And I think it's so sensible to take a breath and pause on this young player. I think he just turned 23 years old. So he's put together point per game seasons over the course of his 21 and 22-year-old seasons in the AHL. You add those 2 years up, it's a point per game. And then you go through, and this is something that I did, you go through AHL history. What players at age 22 have put up a point per game in the AHL? And you do get the occasional hit, the Brendan Morrisons of Canucks fame. Sean Horkoff had a productive career in the NHL. But usually, if a player is going to go on to top 6 stardom or real impact after being a point per game in the AHL, they've hit that point per game by about 20 years old, a little bit earlier on in their trajectory. Does that mean Rosen can't do that at the NHL level? No. It's just I'm not ready to project him as an instant solution. At the same time, just watching him on the ice, the guy has quite a bit of agility. He's got some really good lateral movement. He's got shifty hands and a good offensive instinct. You can tell he's the kind of guy that would score if he got a lot of opportunities. And Jonathan Toews, Gus Nyquist, this year's version of them, they're not play drivers. They're not keeping him in the offensive zone. They're not doing things that are going to necessarily put Rosen in the center slot with the puck with time. And Rosen's not at that stage for himself yet. So, could he do more than what we saw? Limited offense in a limited role? Yeah, absolutely. I think what we've got here is a player who's going to need to work his way into a scoring position, maybe a middle 6 player to start, not a lot of offense to start, but when it does happen and when other players are driving play for him, I think he'll be able to do enough things that kind of impress us and make us go, whoa, that was nice. There is something there to him.
Should mention this segment brought to you by Prairie Toyota Dealers, looking to dominate off the ice as much as your team does on it. Check out the Toyota Tacoma. Its standard I-Force engine boasts an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds. In fact, it's the most powerful Tacoma ever. So whether you're hauling gear to the rink or heading to an away game, you can tackle it with ease. The available panoramic multi-terrain view monitor gives you a live underfloor view to navigate even the toughest terrain with ease. When it's time to load up, the available power liftgate makes loading your gear in and out a cinch. Experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer during Red Tag days from March through May. Connor, one player who got a late call-up this year, Braden Yeager. Do you see additional steps forward for him next season, or is more time in the AHL required before he can become a full-time NHL player?
For me, I see a player who in some circumstances could be ready to play NHL minutes in a depth role at this stage. And in fact, my absolute best case scenario for Braden Yeager is that he wins a job from one of the incumbent veterans right out of training camp. And the Jets see it. They're ready to promote youth. They change their tack with that a little bit. And not only that, but the best case scenario of Yeager for me, he shows enough of that two-way discipline, that defensive commitment to doing the right things, that whenever you look at these roster previews for the Jets, ever since Appleton is gone, they don't really have a right shot forward to play alongside Adam Lowry. I think it's a huge leap, an ambitious ask, but in an absolute blue sky case for Yeager, I think that that's the kind of job that he might be able to work his way up to. So then in the most optimistic case, at the end of the season, Jets fans are going, hey, we might have a captain in waiting here. We might have a shutdown center of the future here as well, because Yeager's faceoff acumen is so good. Maybe fourth line would be a little bit more realistic. What I actually project is that he's going to have his first truly dominant AHL season. I think it could be a little bit quietly dominant because the Moose, they distribute their ice time almost democratically. They're not going to give him 22 minutes a night the way the Jets sometimes do with, say, a Mark Scheifele at the NHL level. But I think that he is ready to control play in all facets of the game at the AHL level and then to emerge as a call-up perhaps in the second half of the season.
One player who signed with the Winnipeg Jets organization late last season and appeared in playoff games for the Manitoba Moose was Garrett Brown. What did you project for him going into next season? Right shot, coming out of college, University of Denver, won the national championship, stepped in, looked solid in his limited minutes with the Manitoba Moose, we'll say. What are you expecting from him next season?
Yeah, I like late blooming prospects because there's this impression about them, well, that if their trajectory has really accelerated late in life, like Garrett Brown was, I think, something like 5'8" or 9" at one of his junior camps, and now he's listed at 6'4". He's got good mobility. His feet are good. His retrievals are good. It's tempting to say, well, hey, since he's gone from kind of a non-factor as a teenager to a really good college defenseman, that he's just going to continue to skyrocket. And it's the sort of late blooming trajectory, actually, that reminds me of Johnny Kovacevic, who eventually became a top 4 kind of number 5, 4-ish defenseman for I guess New Jersey at the time. So there's a temptation to be really ambitious about Brown in a long-term capacity. For me, if Salomonsson is healthy, that's that third pairing right side job taken for the Winnipeg Jets. Even if Salomonsson isn't healthy, I don't think they're going to trust Brown to do that quite yet. Even Winnipeg's best college defenseman in history, like a Dylan Samberg type, played a full year in the AHL. So I think we can reasonably project Garrett Brown will be a Manitoba Moose. And then from there, it's about, well, how ready is he? How adaptable is he? What are the opportunities like? I mean, Tyrell Bauer is an important defenseman for the Manitoba Moose. Is that going to impact minutes? What if, for some reason, the Jets do assign Salomonsson to Manitoba to kind of get him going coming off of that surgery? Well, then all of a sudden, the right side minutes in Manitoba are really challenging. All that said, I do expect Brown to be able to step into kind of a top 4 role for the Moose by season's end and kind of just remind us all that, hey, there's a lot of really good pro caliber things here. Not a superstar in the making, but potentially with an NHL future ahead of him.
Yeah, 2 other players on your list on the under-23 Jets to make an impact. Nikita Chibrikov had a pretty good year, or pretty good showing at the NHL 2 years ago. This past year, battled injuries, and we did see a brief Danny Zhilkin appearance, and he did contribute a bit offensively as well and showed some speed, which we know the team lacked this past year. Could those players be in the mix for this upcoming season?
I think that they could, and you need to look no further than Nikita Chibrikov being chosen to play alongside Jonathan Toews for some reason to start last season. I think it was an ambitious pull. I think it was maybe getting a little bit ahead of Winnipeg's self in that regard. But when you watch Nikita Chibrikov at camp or at the Moose level or even in some of his NHL action, you're drawn to his motor. He works so hard. He battles really well against bigger players. He makes fairly consistently, not perfect, but he's consistently good at both blue lines. And by that, I mean, he'll take a hit to get a puck out of the zone. He'll eat pain to make a breakout pass. He'll work hard to keep pucks in at the offensive line too. So those things help teams play in the right end of the rink. A little nervous about some of his injury history at this point. I think it was core surgery that he had that ended his season. And you just want that type of player to stay healthy enough to give him a shot. And it's tempting, like, I don't know if it's rational, but it's tempting to say, well, hey, he's kind of undersized. He's been hurt a few times. Like, is he ever going to be able to maximize his potential? If he does, though, I mean, he could help a bottom 6 line drive possession. And he's got a pretty good shot if he's ever put in situations where he can use it. So I think Chibrikov could have some NHL time. He's going to lose his waivers exemption, and it's just a matter of what kind of ice time can he actually get, or is he going to be in the press box? And that might be disappointing. With Zhilkin, I just think it's a case of a player who does all the right things. He showed so well in back-to-back camps. He is like a quintessential energy center for the Moose, and has shown with his speed in that, and in his 6-game NHL audition as well, that, hey, you can trust me. And I think that that's the sort of thing that's going to be able to give him an NHL career. Not sure what the ceiling is, and I'm not sure that they're quite ready to start him off with the Jets at this stage.
One player I want to ask you about, Murat, actually didn't make your article. 2023 first-round pick Colby Barlow. Last year, he had 8 goals in 65 games with the Moose, a lot of those coming in kind of the last 2 weeks of the season, 16 points. A disappointing year by really any measure for a former first-round pick. Did he not crack the list for you because, he just struggled in the AHL and he's more likely than not, if not guaranteed, to not really play a role on the Winnipeg Jets next season? Or what was kind of the reasoning for the omission of Colby Barlow, I guess is my question.
Yeah, he only shows up in the chart at the end. He does not get any discussion in the piece, and that would be disappointing for a first-round pick like him with his offensive ability. And for me, a few things are kind of working in concert here. One is word count and pleasing the editors and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, I make decisions too. So it was a little bit of a nod to his low offensive totals. I know at the end of the season, he stretched some games together where he was getting a bunch of shots on net. And that's what you want to see. You want to see him getting into those areas to give himself chances to produce. And I think he ended his season stronger than he began. He started it. And for me, I just need to see that at the AHL level for long enough and put in roles that suit his one-timer and that wonderful shot often enough that he's got some numbers and some confidence to him. The other aspect is he's waivers exempt. And when you look at all these other guys who I perceive to be ahead of him, including veterans who have jobs, who have done it for Winnipeg before, I just can't see short of, like, I would be absolutely astounded if he were able to show up at camp and steal a job being waivers exempt as he is based on the year that he's just had.
So, Murat, when you look at the Jets under 23 players, the group that we just discussed, is there an overarching theme or something that stood out to you about them as a group?
There's something that I think about with respect to the Jets in so many different ways right now. And it's that, like, we want so badly for them to acquire top-end talent, right? Like, you know, Connor and Scheifele drive offense independently, and that's just about it at the NHL level. You like Velarde, his numbers are way better with them than without. Perfetti, same deal. And then you go on, and there's like a complete lack of secondary scorers. So you say, well, how are these guys going to get a star? That number 8 pick could become a star someday. That's exciting. I don't see it in this prospect pool. I do not see. I think the closest you get is probably Elias Salomonsson in sort of a top 4 minute eating, like all situations type of player who's good in transition. So he helps put up even strength offense just by passing to good forwards who go make things happen, and jumping in off the line. I shouldn't discredit him for that. So I don't see a lot of blue chip A1, top 6, top pair type of prospects in the system. And I think that that's disappointing. At the same time, the same way I would say it about a Perfetti, a Velarde, an Adam Lowry is like, there's a temptation sometimes in these discussions to, the saying is like, throw the baby out with the bathwater or something like this, or not see the forest for the trees. It's like, let's not discredit these players for not being stars. Let us value them for their ability to probably make an NHL impact, because every single player that hits the NHL roster at any level helps. I sometimes see like, okay, well, get rid of this guy, get rid of that guy, they're whatever. And I'm just like, well, every single dart that you have to throw at this dartboard of NHL opportunity, I think is a good one. And even if I don't see those superstars, I do see NHL talent in the group.
At the end of the piece, you projected an end-of-season roster for the Winnipeg Jets with those projections for the U23 players. Earlier this week at The Athletic, you released an article titled "A Perfect Winnipeg Jets Offseason Starts with a Reality Check and Good Scouting," and you kind of went through the exercise of what a perfect Winnipeg Jets offseason looks like. What did you learn from that exercise about the job ahead for Kevin Cheveldayoff and the Winnipeg Jets this offseason?
I mean, in a word, it's just difficult. It's just difficult, right? Like for the Jets, they're in a challenging spot, and I have empathy for that after trying to pour through, obviously not having a fraction of the access to information that the actual Jets have. I also learned that I need to do a better job of framing pieces sometimes, because in this particular case, I called it perfect. But then as I wrote, I tried to keep within the bounds of what I considered realistic, just the type of players who they might acquire. And actually, I referenced Peyton Krebs, who I think could be pried-free from the Buffalo Sabres. I referenced Mason Marchment, who I think could be pried-free from unrestricted free agency if you pay him, quote-unquote, too much. But there in terms of perfect, I don't think Jets fans looked at the roster that I put together after that and said, hey, what a perfect team you've just built. My view was just, let's add these players, improve the Jets. And then my blue sky version was that they work out beyond your wildest dreams. To actually go through, and that's what a whole series of pieces at The Athletic have been, to look at offer sheet targets, to look at restricted free agents who you might trade for, to look at second line centers, to look at defensemen. And you go through and you look at the contracts these players have, the no trade clauses, you look at the meek unrestricted free agent market, and you just feel for, like, if you're trying to make this average-ish NHL Jets roster a sure playoff thing, you can probably do it. But to make them a contender in the Central Division, or apparently the Central Division isn't the best, I cannot believe Vegas right now. I can't find their route past these top teams. And that was a sobering exercise, despite the word perfect in the title.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, it's hard not to watch the playoffs, and you saw Colorado, who really had their way with the Jets this season, go out in 4 games to Vegas. I mean, how tall of a task is it for the Jets to, well, get back into the playoffs one, but as you said, seems pretty tall to get to contender status, which seemingly they had last season when they won the President's Trophy.
Yeah, it's an incredible challenge from my perspective. And when they won the President's Trophy, and writing about the trade deadline and their attempts to add top talent to that group, it was my contention that they were one more impact player, a top 6 type of forward away from being a real juggernaut that season. Well, they've lost one of those players, and Nikolai Ehlers at this stage, and they haven't added that other one. So for me, they're 2 players away minimum at this stage. And now you've got, the first sort of weaknesses showing in Connor Hrabchak's armor with, a substandard save percentage. Perhaps he's still capable of delivering dominance. But that's supposed to be your ace in the hole, is that Connor Hrabchak, the often the best goaltender in the world, is supposed to be able to carry a pretty good team to the next level. And a Winnipeg Jets team who is deep with star talent, as they were last year, is supposed to be able to dig in and defend well enough to help that out. And I struggle to find the path to those things. I can't find 2 impact players for the Winnipeg Jets shy of drafting at number 8. That player is a home run, and somehow maybe my next year he's on the roster, or blockbuster trades that I'm not really anticipating to happen. I can see so many routes to pretty good. I see so few routes to great, and depending on your definition of success, that in and of itself may be a failure, or it may be sustainable, and that's for fans to decide.
You brought up Nikolai Ehlers. We clipped a video for our social media channels of Hustler saying he's finding it tough to watch Carolina Hurricanes games because of how big of an impact Nikolai Ehlers is making on that series. What have your impressions been of Nikolai Ehlers maybe shaking off the not a playoff performer narrative, and with the 2-goal game in game 2, and then Carolina, looking to take a stranglehold tonight on the series?
Yeah, well, with Ehlers, didn't he score 7 points in 8 games last year? Didn't he score 5 goals? Wasn't he 3rd in Winnipeg Jets point scoring despite playing in 8 games? I know there's a fumble on it, but didn't he contribute to the miracle goal that Cole Perfetti scored? Like, despite playing the 9th most minutes, including like all situations, right? If he gets onto that Mason Appleton scoring chance in Game 6 against Dallas, don't you think that there's a chance that goes in?
Stop! I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
And I think that because I advocate for the inefficient use of this player, that people think that I think he's perfect. The guy is flawed. He's chaotic. He puts people offside. Defenders don't know what he's doing, but sometimes his teammates don't know either. Sometimes he's wildly inconsistent, makes confusing plays. There have been injury concerns, though I think that he's got a couple of 82-game seasons to his name in recent years now. But you add up the good and the bad and the ugly and the brilliant, and this is an effective NHL hockey player. NHL playoff success for him, in my mind, was only a matter of time. I think he's already showed it at least once for the Winnipeg Jets. It is no surprise to me that as a secondary scorer for the Carolina Hurricanes, a team that is so good in possession, that forechecks so well, that really needed some finishing talent, that he's finding success in that degree. And is he the reason they're winning? No. Is he one of many good players on a good team? Yes. And it bothers me when people say, well, hey, you can't win with that guy. Well, you can win a Stanley Cup with Nate Schmidt if you have a good enough team around him, and Alexander Barkov is crushing people as a number one center who can play against anybody, and you're like 9 or 10 players deep in star power. So yeah, you can win with Nikolai Ehlers playing a big role and scoring big goals, and I think the Carolina Hurricanes are doing that.
Well, Murat, it's been great chatting with you here today. I can't wait for your next In the Athletic, whatever that may be, but looking forward to having you on again next week when Hustlers in the big chair. Thanks so much for taking the time. Always great. I know the chat enjoyed it as well.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I enjoyed it. Thanks for not carving me.
Of course.
Next time. Be ready. Be ready.
Be ready. There he is, Murat Atesh. Follow him in The Athletic. Subscribe there as well. Check him out on X, WPG Murat. Well, we're just over a week away from the CFL regular season starting. Preseason continues this weekend. Super pumped for TSN's Marshall Ferguson to get into everything around the Canadian Football League next. But first, here's Huss.
Do want to thank our great supporters at Princess Auto for their support of WST. Listen, we're counting down to getting back to Princess Auto Stadium for Blue Bomber football this year. But in the meantime, you're probably getting ready to start some projects for the summer or get going, of course. And that's when you go to Princess Auto, because Princess Auto has the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new waiting for you at Princess Auto. So pop by and see them. Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, out in Brandon. And, of course, you can also shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. And we will look forward to seeing all of you at Princess Auto Stadium coming up for Blue Bomber season. Weather's getting nice, just in time for a trip down to Chud's Power Sports to take your summer to a whole nother level. Chud's Power Sports up in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231 is the power sports superstore in Manitoba, featuring the best in new and used vehicles, including boats, RVs, motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, golf carts, outboard motors for those boats, Argos, off-road vehicles. Chud's Power Sports has it all, and they've had it all for a long time. Over 80 years in the business with the most experienced and trusted staff in the game and incredible financing options for both new and used equipment. Check them out online at chudspowersports.com. Up in the top right corner, you'll see a link for e-commerce store. You hit on that, that'll take you to True North Parts with incredible savings on clearance gear and equipment. You're going to want to check that out. But get ready for summer and take it to the next level with Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore up in Gimli. Pop by, see the Derminator and the gang, and get ready for your summer. Huge thanks to our friends at St. Vital Dental Center, who, of course, very proud supporters of golf in Manitoba. Dr. Terry and St. Vital Dental Center presenting the Manitoba Match Play Championships, which were heading through the end of May. They're also there for all of your dental needs, as they've been doing for generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans. And they've got a beautiful new facility now, 167 St. Anne's, convenient free parking right behind the building, and a full array of dental services for clients from 6 months to 99 plus, including cleanings, checkups, all the way to things like dental implants. They do it all at St. Vital Dental Center. So if you need some work on your grill, or you're looking for a long-term home for you and your family, make it St. Vital Dental Center. Pop by and see Dr. Terry. You can go to stvitaldental.ca to make an appointment today. And we are counting down to the World Cup, and so are our friends at Boston Pizza. Now, throughout the hockey playoffs, we've been enjoying the playoff menu, the pizza flights, the wing flights, the MVP platter, those ice-cold schooners. And that's not changing as we get ready for the World Cup. Boston Pizza is going to be your World Cup headquarters with big events and great prizes around the Canada Games. and all the games shown throughout the tournament at your local Boston Pizza. So get ready to throw the red on. Join your friends at Boston Pizza for all Canada games and the World Cup coming up at your local sports headquarters, your local Boston Pizza. And as always, if you're staying at home, you can get it hot and fresh to your door by ordering online at bostonpizza.com.
There's Haas again. He's fishing Aikens Lake back next week. One guy joining us now, TSN's Marshall Ferguson. He'll be back on your TV broadcasting CFL. Marshall, doesn't it sound good? Winter or summer's finally here, warming up now. Gonna have some regular season football kicking off next week.
I'm just admiring the fact that Huss goes fishing on his vacation, and I just like to go flying past lakes where people are fishing on my bikes, just ruining their fishing trips. So if I ever buzz through, I actually know what I don't think I've ever said this out loud before. It's been more of like an internal thought. A bucket list thing for me is to ride a bike to do a game in Winnipeg. I really want to do that because I know exactly how I would do it. It's like north out of Hamilton, up through Tobermory, the Bruce Peninsula. You take the Chichiman, which is the big boat that goes across to Manitoulin Island and then cuts up all the way towards you guys to go through. Like when I see that, I mapped it out one time, and I think it's like 18 hours. So it'd have to be a Friday night game so I could get back by Sunday night. But anyways, if I ever do that, maybe I'll buzz past wherever Huss is just sitting out there on his boat or something.
Yeah. The likely place for us to be out there fishing on the water. Let's get into the CFL season, and starting with the Blue Bombers. They made a number of free agency splashes, Broxton, White, and Serezna most notably. What's kind of your just impressions or thoughts on the Bombers heading into the season as they look to rebound from a one and done playoff appearance last year?
First thing is, I just think it's amazing that they're able to put the succession plan for Stanley Bryant when that time comes in place completely with the Broxton signing. So I'm of the opinion at large in football coverage, but I think really the CFL and TSN, we just do a bad job of covering offensive linemen. Like if anything happens with an offensive lineman in a game, it's like, hey, here's his height and his weight and his school. And that's kind of the only info. You might say, well, a quick little fun backstory, like Ryan Hunter likes to cook. Isn't that cool? But we don't have to really do like the quirky little fun backstories on receivers and quarterbacks. And we have hard stats. We have interesting stats. We have nuanced numbers and opinions and analytics and stuff. So I dove into the numbers a bit on offensive linemen this offseason just because I want to be better at that. And Jarrell Broxton is a freak in the best way possible. That was what I came away with. Like the percentage of snaps played, the Pro Football Focus when it comes to run blocking grade, pass protection grade, all those kind of things. You put them together, you put the number of snaps, you put the type of players he's going up against. He's the real deal. So I like the way that he factors into that very quickly. I don't want to say skeptical, but it's just Tim White is such a unique receiver because he's so quick and he's so explosive, but that can make his body language hard to read. So the biggest question for me going into the season for Winnipeg is how will two former Ticat, if you want to go all the way back on Tommy Condell to doing the Ticat connection, like how will the Ticat connections actually affect the way that this is going to turn out for Winnipeg and their offense this year? Because in my mind, Winnipeg is Brady ball, Brady ball, Brady ball, Brady ball, Brady ball. But then I got to go, well, is Tommy going to do Brady ball? I don't know. Is he going to pound the rock? Is he going to do it with big, heavy formation? Or is he going to start doing the quirky 5 receiver, 6 receiver, just kidding, we're motioning this guy out and we're going to pretend it like it's a reverse and flip it inside to Brady? And I'm excited to see what form that offense takes. And then the Tim White thing is, can he get on the same page as Zach Collaros? Because it took Bo a couple of years to even understand the type of receiver that Tim White was. So, those are the two things that jump out to me. Broxton is for real. He's going to be great, and he's an amazing player. And then what is that offense going to look like? How is Tim going to work with Zach? And then what's Condell going to do to kind of not necessarily script, but shape that offense into his vision of what it should be with the personnel that he's been given?
Yeah, Zach Collaros, 37 years old, maybe arm strength, not what it was, had problems staying healthy last year, but you mentioned Broxton helped him definitely stay upright. Can he be the guy and lead this team back to the Grey Cup here in 2026, turning 38 in August?
I think so. It rattles me when I see how much gray he has in the side of his hair, though. That bothered me on a personal level because no slight against Zach. That made me feel old because I started covering him in like 2016 when I was fresh out of university, and he wasn't like Argo's young pup Zach, but he was jet black hair, CFL team leader guy. Should have been MOP if he didn't tear up his ACL against Edmonton. And now I'm like, man, he's like a true veteran, not just in the optics, but in like the life experience and the savviness and the way that he talks to his teammates. And I'll be honest too, I love hearing Zach just talk about the game. I know he did a little bit of that with the Grey Cup stuff last year. I think his perspective is it's so funny. Every quarterback in the CFL currently thinks they're all going to be working for TSN when it's done. I laugh every time I see an article. It's like Jeremiah Masoli, maybe analyst, like Trevor Harris headed towards CFL and TSN. I'm like, I don't know, maybe, yeah, at some point. And then it's like, well, Levi Mitchell seems like a shoe-in because he's already done a ton of stuff. But when Zach jumped on the mic, I just thought the way that he thinks the game through is really valuable, I think, for the viewing experience for fans to understand kind of the nuances of the CFL game. So can he lead them back? Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think his arm has dropped off nearly as much as some others believe. The other thing that you always see as well, kind of not necessarily an analytical thing, but when a quarterback's arm strength starts to go down, their time from snap to throw also starts to go down, right? Like very, very quickly, the ball will start to come out more and more. The problem I have with some veteran quarterbacks is when the arm strength goes down, they refuse to admit it, and they think they can outthink everybody, and they hold on to the football, but then they don't have the athleticism to escape because they're holding on to the football for too long. So Zach's not that guy. Like, I think Claros has a great understanding of what this era of his career looks like, what his abilities are, and how he needs to lead this group as well. Because keep in mind, like, he's worked with Brady. As long as Brady's healthy and Zach's back there organizing everything, then yeah, Winnipeg is 100% going to be in the playoffs and a playoff, Grey Cup threat and all the rest. Because you think about some of the teams that don't necessarily have the most established quarterbacking situation. You offered any of them, hey, would you like a 37, 38-year-old Zach Claros? They'd be like, in a second. Yeah, he is so much experience. There's no way to deny that.
I want to ask about one of the last points you made there on, the Bombers contending or being in the playoffs. How do you see the additions of Broxton and White and Serezna and maybe some other players coming in this year? Do you see the Bombers stacking up in the West with the Saskatchewans and the BCs and being in that mix?
Yeah, I think they can be in that mix. The thing that I'm always intrigued by going into the season is when we do the off-season pecking order and the power ranking type of line of thought. It's really easy to look at Edmonton right now and say they are going to take a big step forward. But until you do it, like, I know everybody wants to be first on this stuff. Until Edmonton actually takes a step forward, last I checked, they're still the team that's sitting down there near the bottom of the West. And Wildbrand goes, well, yeah, the way they finished the year. Yeah, but I was told in 2022 and 23 and 24 that here comes Edmonton. They're going to be great next year. I'm waiting to see that actually hit the field and feel like it. Because I was, again, crunching numbers because I have Edmonton week 1 the other day. Edmonton has had the fewest offensive snaps, I think, in 3 of the last 4 years or 4 of the last 5 years, something like that. And that's through multiple regimes and quarterbacks and like head coaches and offensive coordinators. And so, yeah, this is basically my way of saying Edmonton, until further notice, is still how they finished at the end of last year. If they come into the first month of the season and they look totally different, I'm happy to acknowledge that. But Winnipeg, the group that they have, I think offensively, they have more than enough talent to put up points. Like I say, I don't know what Tommy Condell is going to do to build the structure around the personnel that he has, because they're a bunch of maulers, and I don't think of Tommy as the type of play caller that necessarily is in line with that way of thinking. It's a little bit more nuanced, and I'm sure that he's going to evolve, but I don't have the answer on how that'll look. BC, to me, they are so due. They are so overdue. They run up against Winnipeg on all of those West finals and West semifinals and all the rest. And then the year that Winnipeg is down, Saskatchewan's like, just kidding. Now we're in the way. And BC just needs to find a way to punch their ticket to the Grey Cup. because it feels like this. It's not like the Nathan Rourke window is closing. Like, I'm not saying that, because that guy should be around for at least a couple more years, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I hope he's here for 10, 12 years, because he's great television. He's a great interview, but you got to do it at some point. Like, there's got to be a first in this thing where we always talk about, LeBron chasing the ghost of Michael Jordan and all these different statistics of players and all-time greats. Nathan is already one of the better players that we have had in this league for a decade. Doesn't have anything really to show for it other than personal awards, which is kind of a theme with the BC Lions. So BC's got the talent to get there. Winnipeg offensively, I need to see what they look like. Edmonton's got some stuff they got to battle through, kind of the demons, I would say, of last year, and how that began with Mark Killam, even though they figured it out. Then Calgary is kind of the wild card to me. Like, Calgary feels like such a swing team. They got so many moving pieces, and I still think that offense is trying to figure itself out with Vernon Adams Jr. And then Saskatchewan is, like, their receiver depth, especially in American, is not great. But Trevor Harris, when healthy, is kind of like the magic fixer. He just kind of like waves the wand, and it's like, your offense can't be wrong as long as Trevor Harris is at the controls, because they'll just get it out quick and check it down and throw crossers and move the sticks and control the time of possession. And so I think the West is an intriguing collection of personalities and talents and matchups, which is why we just need to start playing some damn football, because I'm getting bothered by not having answers to any of this stuff. And I think about these things, as you guys can tell, all day long while I'm just sitting at home. So it's time to play some ball.
Yeah, wheels are turning in the mind of Marshall Ferguson, getting ready for the regular season beginning next weekend. One more on the Bombers. A lot of chatter here about rookie quarterback Taylor Elgersma. I know you follow U Sports. Is there too much hype here for a guy who's not the starter right now?
Hype's an interesting one, because I covered Johnny Manziel when he came to Hamilton, and the hype around that was the hypiest hype that will ever hype. And I've learned that hype is very different than reality. So I think Taylor knows that. I think Winnipeg knows that. The coaching staff certainly knows that. They'll keep him grounded and humble. Doesn't mean that, it's not too much. I think it probably is at this point, but I also know that I watched Taylor play at Laurier. I called a couple of his games, including 2 Yates Cups, where he reminded me of some of the greatest quarterbacks that I've ever seen play. And you can take away era and generation and all the rest. Like, if you want to talk like Russ Jackson, you go back and watch Russ Jackson play in the 1960s, like running through people. Taylor's that guy. I watched Taylor Elgersma in a Yates Cup against the Western Mustangs scramble for a first down on like 2nd and 18 after taking a sack. He scrambles for a first down, I think it was, and then gets up and gets a personal foul for essentially headbutting the linebacker who touched him when he slid. Like, that's the kind of guy he is, because he took a 15-yard penalty, but it was after yards gained. So it was one of those amazing sequences where you go, man, that's probably the only quarterback in Canadian university football that could have got that first down. He's also the only one who would have gotten up and taken away all of the yardage he just gained, even though he got a fresh set of downs, because he plays with that kind of fire. So trying to reel it in, I think, is something that he has done as he's matured and been around NFL organizations, because you're not walking into Packers training camp and throwing a punch. That's a very quick way to get yourself a quick ticket home. So, but yeah, I think the arm talent is there. There's no question about it. I've seen him throw, 18-yard dig routes against 5-man pressure where the middle linebacker's coming unblocked, and the thing doesn't get 10 yards off the turf. So he's for real. And I'm so glad that he's in Winnipeg this year, because my biggest fear was that he was going to spend a year essentially just roaming around the United States of America, hoping for an opportunity somewhere and not learning from Zach, because what he needs to do is just sit behind Claros and watch every single thing that Zach does. And when he gets his opportunity, whether it's Winnipeg or elsewhere, or when Zach's done or not, or it's injury or whatever, he needs to understand that Zach is giving him the greatest education you can in how to play football at the quarterback position in Canada. And he just needs to take every single ounce of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hopefully that this is a great learning experience for Taylor Elgersma. I wanted to ask you about the East. Let's move over to that side of the Canadian Football League. It's Montreal and Hamilton in the East final last year. Obviously, Montreal went on to the Grey Cup. Do you see it as kind of Montreal-Hamilton tier gap? And as for one of, Ottawa or Toronto, which one do you think is more likely to surprise and maybe be in that mix?
I have no idea what the Argos are going to look like. I really don't. I wish I did. I doing the preseason game, it's like Mike Miller could be like a godsend, and they could be an unbelievable program and team and come together and all the rest. They could also have 4 wins. That's the type of gap that I feel like we're up against when it comes to the Toronto Argonauts this year. The one that grabs my attention more than anything is, like, if you want to talk big questions for those other 3 teams, how is Montreal going to backfill losing? Obviously they make the transition to Jeffrey Canton-Arcou in the middle. They have Mike Awe in there. Darnell Sankey was one of the most reliable players that you can possibly have at that position. Now he's not there. Marc-Antoine Dequoy, yes, he was injured. It hurt his effectiveness and his range, I would say, over the last couple of years. But when Marquois, like, if he would have had a full offseason and he would have come in and been a part of the Alouettes this year instead of retiring, he would have been, at least mentally, for all of us across the country, one of the best free safeties in the game. So how is Montreal going to backfill some of the deletions from their roster, if you will, from 2025 on offense? Can Bo keep this up? Like, how long can Bo do this? With Scott Milanovic there, with the receivers that he has, I've been to Tiger Cats training camp a couple of times because it's just down the street from where I live. And I wonder how long this can keep going, because it's really hard to say goodbye when you've got the ball rolling as well as Hamilton did at the end of last year, despite, the very ugly playoff loss, which Tiger Cats fans are very well acquainted with. And then for me, the other one is the Ottawa Redblacks. I think Dinwiddie fears nothing and no man. I think is the easiest way to say this. Like, I get the sense that if he were to start Jake Mayer, who cares? If he starts Drew Brown, who cares? If Chad Kelly throws a punch at Ryan Dinwiddie on the sidelines, who cares? The first time they play on June 20th, he's just kind of one of those guys. It's like he embraces the chaos of it, and he just wants the best players on the football field. He really doesn't have a guiding light other than that. But I think the gap between, talent-wise, Montreal's defense against Hamilton's offense is the most interesting part, I think, of the East Division equation. Toronto is a total wild card to me, basically because I haven't seen Chad Kelly play football in forever in the regular season. And then for the Ottawa Redblacks, it's the same thing as Edmonton. I've seen how well they've drafted. I like the way they've built their team. Does it mean anything until they do it? It's the exact same question as Edmonton, because those two teams have been tied at the hip in unfortunate ways for the last couple of years.
You mentioned Hamilton in your backyard. Made news yesterday. Kenny Lawler getting the record-setting 3-year, $1 million contract. What was your reaction when that news came out yesterday?
Yeah, that's a cool headline, huh?
I think Dr. Evil, $1 million. Sorry.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I understand the way that it looks, but I also understand that I've seen people sign significantly less valuable contracts that are kicked to the curb, released before a bonus is due after 1 year on a, what doesn't matter if it's a 2-year or a 3-year or a 40-year contract. In the CFL, with the completely unrestricted free agency as it stands right now, that's really cool on paper. It looks awesome. It's a wicked email to send to all your fans to be, wow, our organization is the top of the top and we pay our players more than anybody else. No, you don't. It's inside a salary cap. You just decided to pay one guy a bunch of money, allegedly, if he gets paid it, if he's on the team, if he's producing the way that you think that he's going to, if like that's the whole thing. So I'm not, I don't know, maybe I'm a grumpy old man. Maybe I'm a realist, whatever. I saw that headline and I was like, that seems like we're trying to send a message to people that is a false reality. I would hope that people would realize that are CFL fans that, yes, you can pay Kenny Lawler a bunch of money, and if he has 15 touchdowns this year, awesome, money well spent. I also hope that CFL fans come to the stadium not just for the Kenny Lawlers of the world, but for the 18 to 20 Canadians on your roster who need to make an impact, and they're grinding it out on special teams. And look at the outstanding performance of our middle linebacker that jumped up from U Sports last year and got a shot in the NFL. Who's going to fill? Oh, nice. We got Whit McMahon. Okay, now let's talk about our weak side linebackers. There's so many more elements to a good football team than receiver gets paid lots of money. It's a nice headline. Outside of that, for me, didn't do nearly as much as I think it probably did for Ticats fans. But I will say, as somebody who understands that Hamilton loves a little bit of scuttlebutt around the water cooler, whether that's like down at the factory or the plant, or this must have crushed at all of the industrial areas in Hamilton. Dudes just standing around going, did you hear about Kenny Law? Oh my God. Yeah, he's getting paid $1 million over the next 3 years. So if they wanted buzz, mission accomplished.
Speaking of headlines and creating buzz, the CFL announced a new playoff format for not this season, but next season. Marshall, what were your thoughts when Commissioner Stuart Johnson revealed the new playoff format coming to the CFL next season?
I got to let it happen before I understand it. But I will say that, like, projecting forward, it scared me as soon as I saw it. And it wasn't that every team makes the playoffs, essentially, or it was, I understand that curling has their page format and it's taking a page of that and all the rest. We're not curling. That's the part of this that I struggle with a little bit is, again, I apply a little bit of Hamilton sensibility, even though I call games everywhere because I live in the community and I talk to people all the time that have been longtime season ticket holders. I'm trying to imagine a situation in which Hamilton is, week 20, week 21, whatever. Do we want home field? Do we not? Yes, of course, we would love to have home field because that's the logical thought. However, we just had home field in the East Final last year and we lost. So how much is the value of that actually going to mean to us? Then you get into the conversation of the value for fans. To me, I would call into question for people to spend their money for a playoff game that both teams move on, even though it could mean you're playing next week or you're not playing next week. You might get to see your team next week. You might not get to see your team. It's such a foreign concept to the CFL fan who has been loving the league for a long time that I would fully expect whatever team is hosting that first playoff game in a game that will be widely discussed by talking heads like all of us as a game in which both teams advance, regardless of whether or not you end up winning the football game. There's going to be a lot of CFL fans that are like, well, why do I go to this one? Like, if my team's playing next week and it's in the East Division, I want to be able to go, see them down the road in a playoff game where it's do or die. Or, if my team does win, well, I just want to save my money so I can actually get a ticket and go watch the East Final. Or it's a whole new way of thinking. I think that's the root of my skepticism on it. Not that I'm against it. I just think it's a whole new way of thinking, and it takes people time to adjust to these things. So, it's not going to be here for 1 year and disappear. It's here because Stuart Johnson, the commissioner, and the people around him have decided that this is the right way for the league to go. I'm going to reserve my judgment fully until I see the reaction that it gets from the fans, but I feel like I understand CFL fans fairly well and what they value, and being told that long weekends, they have no choice but to stay here because their games are being played on long weekends. A lot of Canadians like to get out of town on long weekends, especially in the areas that I've always lived in. And then the idea of going to a playoff game and paying your money when your team's still advancing if they lose, I don't know how people are going to respond to that. So for me,
Nope, we got you sideways there now, Marsh, but still there? Anyways, Marsh, I think we're time's up anyways. Turn sideways. But it was great talking with you, and can't wait to see you here in Winnipeg, June 11 for the home opener, Bombers Ticats. Thanks again for making time while doing your errands today and joining Connor and I. Perfect. Talk to you later, Marsh. Thanks so much. There he is, Marshall Ferguson, play-by-play CFL on TSN. It was great talking with Marsh. Connor Love picking his brain on the CFL. We'll continue the sports discussion, but first, here's Hustler.
Your World Cup headquarters is Royal Sports at 750 Pembina Highway. If you haven't already geared up for the biggest event of the summer, it's time to get down to 750 Pembina Highway and get yourself in red and white with gear for Canada's national team as Canada hosts the World Cup. Royal Sports is the World Cup headquarters with gear from all around the world with the top teams competing in the World Cup. Some incredible World Cup merchandise as well. So start it off there. And while you're there, check out their soccer gear, softball, baseball, tennis, the incredible selection of bikes in the back. And make a note, because the final weekend of May, the 30th and 31st, it is tent sale time at Royal Sports. 50% off or more off, thousands of pairs of shoes and merchandise. Make a plan to not miss out on the incredible sales at the Royal Sports tent sale on the 30th and the 31st. The Winnipeg Gold Eyes out hitting the road after the weekend. But we've got a great season of Gold Eyes baseball ahead of us, including a Winnipeg Sports Talk event at the end of June, which we'll hope you'll join us for again. We've had incredible turnout the last couple of years. But in the meantime, make your plans, whether it be for a group, whether you want to do a corporate patio party, or just getting out in the sun in the summer at Blue Cross Park and watching the boys of summer do their thing with the cold LBJ in your hand and some of the incredible eats available throughout the ballpark. Goldeyes.com is where you'll find all the information on ticketing for individuals, games, groups, and more. And of course, you can stay tuned to the Gold Eyes all season long through goldeyes.com as well. Looking forward to seeing all of you at the ball game. Man, we've had a lot of fun working with our friends at Travel Manitoba. This is a great time to familiarize yourselves with some of the great options in and around the province when we're getting to the holiday time and, maybe getting out of the city and seeing things outside of the perimeter. If you're planning your next adventure, start with Travel Manitoba. And whether you're searching for a road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals and events, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. Looking for ideas on the go? Give them a follow on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't-miss experiences from across the province. And if you prefer a personal touch, stop by one of the visitor information center at the Forks in Winnipeg. We're going to be looking forward to doing a live show down at the Visitors Information Center early next month as well. And speaking of great things to do in the summer, the ponies are back at Assiniboia Downs, live racing every Tuesday and Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. post time, all summer long, as well as select Mondays. And if you really want to step up your racing experience, make a reservation in the clubhouse dining room and take advantage of that incredible world-class prime rib buffet and wagering from your table all night long. All the information on the upcoming and current live racing season is online at asdowns.com. And if you want to go head-to-head with myself and Michael Remis on our picks throughout the week, you can always play online at hpibet.com.
There's us looking forward to having him back next week. Looking forward to having on right now our friend Pat Gregoire of Coolbet. He came on with his Leafs gear when they won the lottery, but it's almost like, Pat, the hockey god said, you can have the lottery win, but you're going to have to watch Mitch Marner raise the cup the year after leaving the Leafs. Potentially raise the cup. He hasn't won it yet. And take it back to Toronto for his celebration. What's it been like for you watching what we're seeing right now in Vegas? Welcome, Pat, by the way. Nice talking to you.
Oh, well, what a great welcome you guys give me
Hey,
here.
You can't come on the show, Pat, wearing a Leafs jersey after you win the lottery and not expect this.
Oh no, it's totally expected. I just thought, Huss away at Aikens Lake. I thought I was going to get off the hook with you two nice guys. And sure enough, that's not the case. But I said it to Huss last week when I came on here. I the sacrifice for the first overall pick, the sacrifice for me gloating. I said it. The Toronto Maple Leafs is the greatest soap opera on television. You know, all the highs and lows, and we're experiencing the highs of potentially getting McKenna and the first overall pick, and here comes the lows. This is like the worst case scenario Stanley Cup final potentially with the Montreal Canadiens, who obviously are on the brink here. They got to find a way to turn things around, but you could have the Habs, who are, you know, the arch nemesis of the Toronto Maple Leafs, going up against Mitch Marner, who, I mean, if you read everything on Twitter and you read everything online or turn on Toronto Sports Radio, you know, the Leafs Nation literally were the ones who traded Marner, who elected not to waive his no trade movement, all this, like everything. So, you know, it is karma. Karma is a you know what. And I think this is obviously all coming undone at the same time. Let's be honest, even if Carolina wins, we got a Freddie Anderson versus Mitch Marner Stanley Cup. So this is nightmare fuel any way you slice it for Toronto Maple Leaf fans.
If Mitch Marner and the Vegas Golden Knights win the Cup and he wins the Conn Smythe and he comes back to Ontario, are you going to make that trek out to spend the day with the Cup with Mitchie?
There are so many other things I would rather do than attend that event. Yeah, not a chance. And listen, I mean, I obviously there's a lot of revisionist history here. The fact of the matter is, I mean, if you thought that Mitch Marner wasn't capable of doing this, either A, you don't know puck, or B, you're blind and you're naive. But the fact of the matter is he never did it with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I think there has to be an onus on the player for not getting it done while being here. But of course, yes, it's also the organization. It's also setting up this team for failure. But let's be quite honest, this Las Vegas team is significantly better than any of the teams that Mitch Marner played with. He never had a D-core like he has here. He was never insulated with a depth scoring and other teammates that have been there before. He never had a Mark Stone on this lineup. Let's be totally fair with ourselves. The situations are two different things, but at the same time, Leafs Nation and Toronto can't take away anything that Mitch Marner is doing in the playoffs, because it is remarkable. He is he is proving all the doubters wrong, that he can't get it done in big moments. And I think the proof is in the pudding. Two things can be true at the same time, as they say.
Is the problem Toronto where you see guys like Phil Kessel leave, win a cup, Nazem Kadri gets traded, wins a cup, and now Mitch Marner in the first year out of there in a Stanley Cup final? You could list a lot of players here, Pat. I didn't even go back to the 90s with Larry Murphy was a guy and then won immediately with Detroit. It's been an interesting run there. Is it too much pressure in Toronto?
Listen, I feel like there is a lot of pressure. I don't know if I would say too much pressure. I mean, you look all across Canada, there's a lot of pressure. Is it too much pressure in Edmonton for Connor McDavid? Is there too much pressure in Montreal right now? Like, we're not talking, like, you know, if the Montreal Canadiens get bounced here in the Eastern Conference Finals, we're not talking about it being too much pressure for Cole Caulfield or Nick Suzuki to get it done. Yes, they've gotten significantly farther than these Toronto Maple Leaf teams have, but I think pressure is a privilege. And I think, you know, a lot of these guys want to play in these markets where they care about. But yeah, it is a lot. And I think we would be crazy not to talk that maybe the fact that Mitch Marner was able to go to the rink, probably wearing flip-flops every day, only have one or two reporters there. Let's be abundantly clear. This was not an easy regular season for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, I think they've entered into the playoffs at the right time. They get a new coach in Torts. So I do think that probably, and him not having to deal with media, you know, does probably do a lot. But at the same time, you hear him talk and you hear him, you know, say these things that, like, you know, I think the guy wants to win. I think he cares about it. You could see the emotion that he had on the ice after. And I think the will and the want to win was always there. I don't know if it's pressure, but I mean, at the same time, you'd be crazy not to say that there isn't pressure in Toronto. There no doubt is pressure, but these guys are professional athletes. They sign up to be here. And I think that, at the same time, if Mitch Marner was to ever get to where he was, and we're talking about this guy having his jersey retired in Toronto, him having a spot in Legends Row, like the pressure is high, but the reward is high as well. Like you go to a Toronto Maple Leaf game, guys, and there are alumni wearing their alumni jacket with the Maple Leaf crest there, and they're treated like royalty. And these are guys that haven't won cups before. These are guys that haven't gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals, or the ones that have. Look, Matt Sundin, for crying out loud. Yes, all-time Leaf, everything that he's accomplished. He never won a cup either, but this guy has a job for life. Darcy Tucker, job for life. Wendell Clark, job for life. Doug Gilmour, job for life. These guys legitimately have jobs within the Toronto Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment through the Alumni Association, different things. So the fact if you could even get it done, like you are literally setting yourself up for life. And these guys never even got it done. So it just goes to show you, like, the pressure is there, but the reward is so high as well.
Well, Pat, we'll spare you from the Mitch Marner conversation for now until you come back on the show next week or 2 weeks from now when Vegas is lifting the cup. Then it will resume. But let's
get this out of there. I'm sick that day. Okay.
Jake will have to eat that bullet. Yeah, he'll have to. No, but let's move over to the other side of the bracket. Obviously, Montreal jumps out to a really impressive 1-0 lead in the series with the win in Carolina, but then Carolina responds with 2 Hurricanes style games, very low shot totals. They win both games in overtime. Game 4 is tonight. Carolina is a -147 favorite. Last time I refreshed over at Coolbet, what have you thought of that other series, and where are you at on tonight's game?
Listen, I think Huss and I actually talked about it last week when I was on the program. We said it was the easiest bet in the history of bets, taking Montreal in game number 1. They had to have that one, the rest versus rust debate. And I did say, though, if there was a team that could overcome it, it would be Carolina, just because of the culture that they have there. Rod the Bod obviously was going to have those guys on the ice training, making sure they were ready. And obviously they weren't. Like, you can't simulate that intensity that Montreal has gone through. But at the same time, guys, like, this is, as much as it kills me, this has been a magical run for the Habs. Like, it's not like they've been playing sparkling hockey on the way. They've been very lucky. Both those Game 7 victories. Even in the last game, getting 13 shots on goal and still finding a way to get to overtime. They have just got by on great goaltending and being opportunistic, but that is the perfect formula for winning in the playoffs. Mind you, I don't know how sustainable it is. Maybe the glass slipper has fallen off the foot here, or maybe, it struck midnight for this Cinderella run. But for me, if they're going to get this done, it's get this back to a series. This is absolutely a must-win spot for Montreal. I don't know, man. I don't know about you guys, but this Carolina team, I've been a perennial Carolina doubter for a long time. I didn't understand why the sports books always had this team as an outright favorite or near the top, because time and time again, you watch the broadcast, they continue to show you the Eastern Conference struggles with this group for a very long time. And even dating back, to after the era where they won the cup, they haven't been able to get it done. This group feels different. This group is different. I think Brind'Amour has these guys playing the perfect brand of hockey. And I just think it's going to be a little bit too much to overcome for Montreal. But with that being said, a juicy plus 125 certainly is looking at me in the face. I don't want to say it's a play for me, but I certainly would be leaning that way, because if not now for Montreal, I think if they lose this game, this series is over.
Yeah, they're certainly in a tough spot. And, just looking ahead to the next round, I'm looking at the odds on Coolbet. Interestingly enough, Vegas, they're plus 100 to win the cup. I'm surprised that Carolina is minus 109, considering they haven't even won the series yet. They're not even there. Would Carolina be favored against, or Carolina or Montreal be favored against Vegas?
I definitely would say that if Carolina wins, Carolina is going to be the favorite. If Vegas wins, if Carolina wins, Like, yeah, it's crazy. I would look at that number and, getting plus 100 on Vegas with them already punching their ticket probably looks pretty good. But if you think about it, I mean, I don't know if that price ever gets better at this point, but that was the first thing I did this morning, going through, and I clicked on that, and I wanted to see what the number was going to be on Vegas to see. I assumed they were going to be around plus 100, but I thought Carolina would be shortly behind at plus 125. That just goes to show you the belief that the sportsbook has in this Carolina team. It's pretty crazy when you think about it.
Pat, sticking with hockey, but moving on to the IIHF Worlds, Canada is taking on the United States tomorrow morning. I'm trying to find, I don't know, Remis, if you have it, the futures odds for the tournament as a whole. Maybe it's not up on the site right now, but Canada, obviously the favorite. They were the last time I checked going into the medal rounds for the IIHF Worlds. What are you expecting or looking at for tomorrow's game against the States and the tournament as we get into the games that matter here?
Yeah, well, Canada right now plus 140 to win gold. Nice. Switzerland actually plus 275. Finland plus 375, and then a big jump. Sweden 17-1. So, yeah, I think this is Canada's tournament to lose here. I think when you look at the roster on paper, they're the best roster, probably one of the better rosters we've seen at the World Championships for a long time. And who knows when's the next time we're going to see 87 wearing a maple leaf on his chest. And special to see him and the relationship that he's built with Macklin Celebrini, kind of a, passing of the torch. And let's be honest, I know this USA team looks significantly different than the team that we saw this past winter at the Olympic Games. But you can't tell me that Crosby, Celebrini, these other guys that are on this team aren't going to want to get their pound of flesh here. So I think that this could be and should be a victory for Canada. At this point, I'd be shocked if Canada doesn't win gold here. Just looking at the roster, just looking at the way they played, even the games that got a little bit scary there. That Norway game, looked really, really scary. But then the big dogs took over. The cream rose to the top, and I just feel like this Canada team is on a mission. And guys like Celebrini and Crosby, from the disappointment they have. And let's be honest, a gold medal at the World Championship is never going to fill the void of losing gold against Team USA. But I think this could be a little bit of a consolation. And like I mentioned too, Crosby, anytime he's got the red maple leaf on his chest, you'd be crazy town to doubt what this team can do.
Yeah, here we've got our eyes on Mark Scheifele, had the hat trick last week. Gabriel Velarde getting power play time. Dylan DeMello. So nice to see a couple Winnipeg Jets on the ice while the Jets are eliminated. Shifting over to the golf, it's the Charles Schwab Challenge this week. What do you think of the field this week? Ludwig Aberg, the favorite, plus 825. And then a bit of a gap after that. Henley, plus 1750. Thomas, plus 1900. Ricky Fowler. What do you make of the field this week?
This should be called like the Patton Huss Challenge, because when you look at the board, these are all guys that we place a lot of money on when it comes to. So if you come here on Wednesday and watch WST, you'll hear a lot of the familiar names that we do like to bet. Like you mentioned, Aberg, Russell Henley, Ben Griffin, Hideki. You got Bhatia in the field as well. And if you go a little bit further, Sung Jae Im. We talked about Tony Finau last week and how he was, a little bit of a long shot. And we kind of just threw that out there. Like, I think I mentioned it to Huss. I was like, 100-1. Guy finished T6 last week, and I think he's starting to play a lot better golf. He's starting to get his confidence back. I think he's a lot healthier. So I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit on Tony Finau. He's 50-1, and he plays really, really, really well at Colonial Golf Club. Finished runner-up in 2019. Finished inside of the top 37 times out of 9, and he's made the cut in 8 of 9 times. As I mentioned, the T6 finished last week, and strokes gained around the green is 13th, which I think is going to play a big factor at this golf course. So I'm going to go with Tony Finau. I'm going to go with Sung Jae Im as well. He had a great weekend as well. And then looking at near kind of the top of the board, Ricky Fowler at 23-1. He's starting to really play really good golf as well. So I'll take a swing at those three guys. Aberg is always a guy I love to have on my card, but at plus 825, a guy that hasn't proven that he can win even in some of these lower ones. Like I know he's young, but he's got one tour victory, but he has gone into Sunday many, many times, whether he's T1 or T2, T3, and found a way to even fall out of the top 20. So until he can prove, like, this would be a weekend where he could flex his muscle, but at the number at plus 825, I think that's just a little bit too rich for my blood.
Well, Pat, looking forward this weekend, and yes, I'm looking at this card. I agree. Akshay Bhatia is the quintessential Huss and Pat pick, always making your guys' card. It's been great talking to you about Mitch Marner, a little golf, and you can get. I see the Blue Jays game on Reflection in your pictures. They're up 2-1, and nice to see Vlad Guerrero Jr. back in lineup after missing a couple from getting hit, and we got Louis Varland on. Well, I don't know if this is top of the 8th, so I don't know if this is necessarily a save, but he's on right now as they look to hold the lead. So, Pat, been great talking with you, and we'll have you back on next week when Hustle returns. You can hear all about his master angler and whatever else is going on with the fishing, living the life.
You know what? The huge missed opportunity. We probably should have put like some props out for how many fish he'd catch. You know, the over under on like largest fish. And then I was going to say, so all those, and then also like, you know, cold beverages consumed as well, which probably hammer the over.
There you go. Well, I think he's got some pictures on his Instagram story right now. No fish in the picture. He's just on a boat, so can't get anything from that. But Pat, thanks again for hopping on. Always great chatting with you about NHL, golf, lacrosse, NFL, anything, Pat. So I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, boys. Go Canes. Let's go.
There you go.
Go Canes. There he is, Pat Gregoire. Follow him on X, P. Greggy. Okay, we've got to give away a couple prizes if you enter our contest, and a big time zone update. It's going to affect all of us. The province, they've put out their survey, and Winnipeg-based Prairie Research Associates have done their own survey. We'll tell you the results right after this. But here's us.
Do want to thank our friends at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge for their support of WST. And right now is a great time to head over to aikenslake.com and sniff around on what might be available later on in fishing season. If you are thinking about a world-class fly-in fishing opportunity where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens Lake is the spot. And not only is their world-renowned fishing 5-star, the hospitality from the Terren family and the Aikens team might even be better. Head on over to aikenslake.com or check them out on all the social media channels for Aikens at Aikens Lake for more information on the 2026 fishing season out at beautiful Aikens Lake. And the golf season is well underway right now, and we'll be swinging them all summer long out at beautiful Breezy Bend. Breezy Bend's one of Winnipeg's top private courses that has undergone a ton of improvements over the last decade or so, both on the course with a number of new holes, as well as in the clubhouse with their beautiful patio in the 19th hole, the best in the province. Breezy has something for everyone. If you're thinking about a long-term golfing home for you and your family at one of Winnipeg's top private courses, check out breezybend.ca or give a call to the course at 895-7205 and talk to our pal Corey Johnson about membership at Breezy Bend. All right, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug. Don't forget, 1919 and generic, now available in small cans and 24s at your local beer vendor.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
There we go. Can't wait. Now that it's nice out, I'm going to enjoy those little cans or the smaller cans of a Little Brown Jug, generic and 1919. Bring back Connor Hrabchak as we wind down the show. I think this is a big topic for Manitobans coming up. It's going to affect all of us, and it's going to affect our sports watching habits, which I think we need to consider this. So earlier this month, the province put out a poll asking citizens of Manitoba their thoughts on the time change as we currently, spring forward an hour in March and fall back in November. And we've seen Alberta eliminate the time change and BC as well move to daylight savings time permanently. And Wab Canoe is asking Manitobans what they think about the time change. There's been some health benefits that have been known to staying on one time, and it really bothers people having to change the clocks twice a year. So I want to get into this survey, Connor, but first, where are you at on daylight savings as we're enjoying the extended daylight right now?
Yeah, I am enjoying the extended daylight right now. That is certainly a thing, but I'm with you. You tweeted this out, I think it was last week, saying I'll vote for whatever keeps hockey games at 6 and 9 o'clock at night and football games at 12 and 3 on Sundays.
Yes.
Like, I think the central time zone, the time zone we're in for sports, is the best. When I travel to Vancouver and a hockey game is starting at like 4 o'clock and the last game of the night's at 7, I think that's a little too early. You go to the East Coast, it's the opposite. Everything's later. To me, the central is the best. So that's where my vote is keep NFL games at noon. That's where I'm at.
So Prairie Research Associates surveyed 1,060 residents, and the Free Press, Chris Kitching, wrote this up. And here is the results of the poll, Connor. And I think they're saying the results of this poll are going to be in line of what the government hears from their poll. So 34% say permanently stay on daylight time, longer evenings. 18% permanently stay on standard time, which gives you earlier mornings. 21% say permanently stay on one time, but no preference for standard or daylight. And 14% continue switching between standard and daylight. 13% no preference. So the majority here would say stay on one and stay on daylight time. And this concerns me because, as you mentioned, I feel like the central time zone, we did our power poll after this. Power poll is the best for watching sports. The games don't start too late. Like you have 6 o'clock at Hockey Night in Canada, and then you have the 9 o'clock game. They don't start too early or too late. It's the perfect time at 6. And like the games that you're watching, like in market, it's always Jets games are going to be 7 here,
regardless
regardless of what time zone we're in.
Right.
Although, for TV, maybe in the playoffs, you do get screwed with the 8 o'clock, but majority of the time, regular season games. And then also, the late games, they're not too late. 9 o'clock, it's fine. It ends before midnight. I did the math on this, and I didn't realize that if we stay on daylight in the winter months from November to March, we're going to be on Eastern time. And games, will be starting at 7, NFL games at 1, and the late games will be starting at 10 o'clock. So in the winter months, November to March, when the Jets go to their January West Coast trip to Anaheim and LA, it's going to be a 10 o'clock start, 10:30 start. Kenny and Randy are going to be up till 3 doing post games. Okay, we need to think about this.
Think of Kenny and Rennie. Think of the podcasters. Come on.
We need to think about this. So, maybe the convenience of not having to change the time is a plus, but we're going to be moved to a significant downgrade in terms of our sports watching habits. There's going to be a big adjustment here. I don't like it. I think this isn't being considered by the province. I don't know if anyone from the government is listening, but look, if they want to switch the time to daylight, I don't really care, but we need to work together as a continent, as North America, as Canada, as the U.S., and say, okay, what are we doing? I don't think Manitoba should be going rogue and doing their own change, as it would ruin what is the best time zone for watching sports.
I think that's a great take. I'm with you on that. And 10 o'clock is a little late for sure. I can just imagine. Can you imagine Tuesday night against the LA Kings? It's a 10:30 start, and you're sitting there halfway through the third period, and it's 1-0 Kings, and they're playing the defensive zone trap, and it's the most boring hockey game you've ever watched, and it's 12:30 at night. Yeah, I'm not like I'm more of a night owl, so I'm fine. I'd stay up, for 10 o'clock hockey games. I don't mind it whatsoever, but I get it. It's a little late. And football game starting at 1. I mean, I guess that's fine. Sunday Night Football starting at 8 or 8:20. Too late. Yeah.
It's too late. I don't know. I talked to my friends in Toronto.
Yeah.
Monday Night Football, it's going to be too late. Although it'll be the end of the season. I don't like it. I don't like it. I like the games ending at 11:45. We can't have games going past midnight. So I don't think the province is considering this. I don't care about any other health
fans.
Yeah, they need to think about the sports fans. They're not considering them. So this is a topic. I think it's going to have big implications. I am dialed in on the time change because I'm all about time zones when sending guest requests to come on. I just had a time zone mix up with Remis yesterday. I thought he was in Montreal, but he was back. So this could be a big change here going forward.
Could be. And yeah, I don't like the thought of a 10 o'clock LA Kings weeknight game.
Yeah, I don't like
the Winnipeg Jets.
It's going to happen. Get ready for it. It'll happen. So right now, Alberta and BC, they've switched to permanent daylight. Manitoba, considering. I don't know why these 3 provinces are the only ones talking about this change. Again, if every other state in the U.S. or province in Canada said, we're all doing this together, do it together. But don't get out of the best time zone for sports watching. We've got a good thing going. Everyone's going to be complaining about the late games. We're going to want to go back. I don't like it. So let's try to do it all together. Let's not go rogue. That's my thought on it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Good take.
I'll go to the chat. Eagle Eye says TV can be recorded. I don't record sports. This is my other one. I don't record sports and try to watch without knowing the outcome. It's not going to happen.
It's too tough these days. It's too tough with phones.
You got to turn off your phone. People are going to call you. No.
Yeah, exactly. It's too tough. People are going to come up to you and say, hey, you see the game? Wow, what a great overtime winner by Mark Scheifele. Oh, thanks. Yeah, great. I was going to watch it actually in 20 minutes. No. Yeah, I'm not a PVR guy either.
No.
Again, I'm the type to stay up for these games, but I'm still saying I'm not a fan of it. I don't know.
I think we got the best time zone. I don't want to be.
I agree.
I don't want to get out of it. I want to stay in the central. We got a couple things to get to. We did cool bet with Pat. Thanks to Pat. I do have to do my horse racing picks, but next Wednesday, Hustler and I and our winner Kurt Schmicky. I think you're coming as well, Connor. I think you guys are coming to this. The night out at the Downs. We're going to hit the buffet. Going to enjoy a nice night of live racing. So Kurt Schmicky was our first winner. Chelsea won last week. And we have to do a horse racing sim to get our next winner, third winner, to join us at the buffet at Assiniboia Downs next Wednesday, June 3rd. Looking forward to that, and it's also live racing tonight. I do have my picks in, but Connor, we've got our contestants. The winner of this horse racing sim at horseracesim.com. Here's who's in. They entered at our website, winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. We've drawn 30 of the names, I guess, total, and one more winner will join us. So here's our horses. We've got Kevin Berg, Pat Rathwell, Eagle Eyes, Megan Wiley, Dallas Pauls, Jordan Levine, Ryan Harris, Storm Cloud, Rob Harzma, and Pam S. Again, I should have been prepared with the, trumpet sound effects, but we don't have that. I'm gonna hit start, and I'll do my call here. of the race. All right.
Yeah, looking forward to your play-by-play, Remo.
There's Eagle Eyes in chat. He's ready. So they're off. We've got a large pack of horses. This is a 3-lap race. We've got Dallas Pauls in teal getting out in front. Jordan Levine behind. Eagle Eyes looking speedy. Kevin Berg in fourth. But it's Dallas Pauls off to a big lead to start with a gap. But I see who's in red there coming around. That's Kevin Berg. So we got Jordan Levine. Oh, man, Dallas. Connor, this horse, he's got a half lap lead or a quarter lap lead over Pat. It's Dallas's race to win. Pat in second, Jordan third, Eagle Eyes, Kevin Berg, Storm Club, then another gap. Dallas, he's about to lap Rob Harzma in last place. We're on the third lap right now. Dallas running away with this for a night at the Downs, hitting the buffet. This is not even close at all.
Photo finish.
Photo finish for the lapping. So Dallas Pauls, so I saw in chat, Dallas, you're going to be joining us next Wednesday. Looking forward to seeing you there. Incredible. We're going to be doing some wagering. I think they put us in the winner's circle. A lot of the chats are coming in. Dallas, a.k.a. Secretariat, I think so, says Comet. Phyllis, holy smokes, Dallas, what'd you feed your horse? And Dallas's horse is on steroids, says Dan.
Need a test.
Dan, Jets fan. Well, here, let me get my picks for this evening. Live racing. I did not have any success yesterday at the track, Connor, but trying again tonight. So I got...
That is, how's Huss done? On the other side.
I texted him, get your picks in. He's done better than me. Hold on.
Oh, is he's actually won some? Well, yeah, Remo, you got to get going here.
Can't
use time zones as an excuse for this one. Got to get going. I will say I got multiple TVs. I put on the games on a couple TVs, and I always have one for Assiniboia Downs YouTube, so I can follow along. Race 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm trying to keep it simple here, and I did 2 trifectas. 2 winners. So race 4, I think I'm going straight favorite here. I need a winner. Living in the fast lane. Just trying to hit a single here. Trying to not lose. Get on base. That's a big favorite. Program selection. AI smart pick. Race 5. A bit of a longer shot. I think Hyper. Am I on? Yes. Race 5. Horse 2. Hyper Holiday. 9-2. That's third on the program. AI smart pick. We'll see how that plays off. And I got 2 trifectas. Race 6, 1, 2, and 4. Frosted Mug. Love the Frosted Mug. Horse 2, Easy Tree Atesh. That is it 8s or is it Atesh for Atesh? Murat. Me and Murat on the show today, so it's Atesh.
Easy Tree. I don't know. Easy Tree 8s or Easy Tree Atesh. Take your pick. And horse 4, Charlie's Prize. So I do have 2 on the program selection, AI smart picks, but hoping for a little bit of a longer shot in there to juice the payout. And race 7, I got 3, 4, 5, Valley Victory, and then My Liam and Chief Brady. And My Liam and Chief Brady, those are 2 of the bigger favorites. So we'll see how Hustler does against me, but he's got the lead. He's got the lead right now. And as we wind down the show, Connor, time for the Wheel of Names. Thanks to our friends at Manitoba Battery, now a corporate sponsor of the Blue Bombers. They've hooked us up with 2 pairs of tickets for, this Friday's game. And we had entries on our website, winnipegsportstalk.com. And you got multiple entries for subscribing to our mailing list, following us on social media as well. So appreciate those who entered. I'm going to spin the wheel twice, and I do have their emails, so these people will be headed to the Bomber game on Thursday. Thanks to our friends at Manitoba Battery. Nice. Got the Wheel of Names. So some people are on here a couple times because they completed the tasks. And Connor, you've been doing a great job on the newsletter that gets sent out. So winnipegsportstalk.com at the bottom. You can sign up and get notified about contests, amazing segments, events. We're going to put Gold Eyes tickets for the WST night on sale next week. All right, here we go. First spin, and let me get this. Make sure we have the sound effects for this one.
Need it. Yeah.
Who is it going to be? Oh, Pat Rathwell. His horse did not win, but he gets the consolation prize. 2 tickets to the Bomber game on Friday. Congratulations to Pat. Move that one out. There are some similar entries for this one. Let's go. And we've got Jason Sheps. 2 tickets. So shout out to Jason for winning. And looking forward to the Bomber game Friday. They did announce for the home opener, Connor, Big Sugar playing. So you get to go to a game and entertain. Are you familiar with Big Sugar?
No, I personally am not.
Man,
are you?
Yeah, man. Big Sugar was big on Power 97, 92. Sure. What, in the 90s, early 2000s? They probably still play Big Sugar. Got to hit the Canadian content ratio. You probably may not be familiar by name, but once you're there, you'll know.
I'll know.
You'll know a number of the songs. Like when I went to the Loverboy concert at the Forks, free concert a couple years ago. I was like, yeah, Loverboy. Like I probably know like 1 or 2 songs. I knew like every song because I grew up listening to the rock stations here. So it sounded like pretty cool function. But one thing pretty cool, Connor, the Gold Eyes announcing.
Yes, I wanted to touch on this. Yeah.
Couldn't forget this. Toonie Tuesdays at the ballpark. That's pretty exciting stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, so the Gold Eyes just announced this. $2 Tuesdays at Blue Cross Park. They say more baseball, more snacks, more value. Tuesday nights at Blue Cross Park just got even better. So it's select concession items that are available now for $2. Most notably, there's a list of them, but most notably, Goldie's Grill $2 hot dogs. I will be taking advantage of those when I go to Gold Eyes games on a Tuesday night. But I mean, Tuesday night, maybe not the biggest draw for Gold Eyes games. This is a great way to get more people down to the ballpark, get more people, buying concessions, cheaper concessions. They got $2 lemonade, $2 small slushies, $2 chips. They have a long list of stuff there. If you go check it out, goldeyes.com /Tuesdays is on their website. But very cool promotion there by the Gold Eyes. Looking forward to some Tuesday night games this year.
Okay, let me bring up the item, because if you got $10 to a Gold Eyes game, man, that goes on a Tuesday. I feel like that goes a long way.
Yeah.
Right now, as my email is down, so I'm trying to bring it up. Anyways, it's Goldeyes. For more information, goldeyes.com /Tuesdays. Okay, here's the menu, Connor. You got a 10. What are you taking? So we've got $2 hot dogs and $2 chips.
5 hot dogs.
$2 mini bag of popcorn. $2 lemonade. $2 slushy. So I get $2 chips at Goldie Dog. $2 mini pizza slice. $2 pickle spear. That's 2 pickle spears at Bodego's. $2 vegetable samosa. Uncle Bob kebab at Mr. Pierogi, and a small lumpia. What are you spending if you got $10 at the game? Are you getting 5 dogs? Is that what you're doing?
Well, you're going for the 999 challenge, right? Is that the? No, I'm kidding. Yeah. But if you got $10,
5 dogs? Is that you're going to hit 5 dogs?
No, I'll go 3 hot dogs, 1 chips, and a lemonade, a small lemonade. Get a full meal there, a full repertoire. What are you going for?
Yeah, I think I'm going the slushy, 2 dogs.
Okay, yeah.
Wait, you said 2
3
dogs.
Hot dogs, chips, and a
you're getting 3
slushy.
Dogs?
3.
I gotta see these.
Keeping it simple.
Dogs. Yeah, I think I'll get slushy, 2 dogs. The popcorn mini bag.
Yeah, popcorn.
They give you the large popcorn. Like, it's too much. I don't need all that. And the vegetable samosa sounds intriguing from Clay Oven, or the pickle spear on the side of my hot dog from Bodego's, depending on how I'm feeling. But Man, you could get a good amount of value there. $2 Blue Cross Park on a Tuesday.
$2 Tuesdays. Yeah, great promotion. Great work by the Gold Eyes staff here. Love that.
Yeah. Speaking of promotion, still waiting. Got to wait for my Manitoba Mosquitoes hat
Yes.
to come in. But the Gold Eyes won their 4th consecutive game yesterday over Gary South Shore Railcats, 7-1. They're on the road this week, but they'll be back. Let me see. First week of June. I believe they are back next week, starting on Monday.
Yeah, they are.
Hosting Sioux Falls for 4 games. So you can hit the first Tuesday, Toonie Tuesday on Tuesday, and then Sioux City over the weekend. Love the Sunday afternoon games, Saturday evening, as well, the early 6 p.m. start. Well, Connor, it's been a great show. Gotta love talking about the Golden Knights advancing to another Cup final, right? Gotta love talking about that.
Yeah.
Gotta love that. And so we're looking forward to tonight's game, dialed in, Carolina-Montreal. We'll talk Bombers tomorrow, getting ready for Friday's preseason home game. Ed Tate going to join us as well. And Brandon Ruwicki go around the NHL playoffs, maybe some draft coverage as well. So, Connor, great having you on today, and we'll continue the week. Any final thoughts? Anything else you wanted to touch on here?
Yeah, great show today. Looking forward to tomorrow's Canada-USA game tomorrow at 9.
Thank
so
you.
We'll be breaking that down on the show. That'll be great. I saw the Blue Jays won. I had it on a second screen here. That's a good win for them. Another series win. And I'm going to spend my night listening to Big Sugar, Remo. And I'll be ready to go for this halftime show. This will be great.
Man, when I think Big Sugar, I think I saw T. Will wrote his song in chat, and there were some bands in the 90s with I know Big Wreck opening for Creed coming up, but Turn Your Lights On was the one for me, that a song I thought of for Big Sugar, although Spotify, I think it was lower down on their list, but I went through, I was like, yeah, I know some of these. So
I'm sure I will recognize their songs when I start playing them.
Yeah.
You know, like it's, yeah. Anyways.
There you go. Well, I'll throw everyone over to the Edmonton Sports Talk channel. Everyone blown away by Colorado. Not losing, but in the way that they did, getting swept. Vegas back in the Cup final again, and we'll be back tomorrow, same time, 1 o'clock here, Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily on YouTube and podcast. For Connor Hrabchak, I'm Michael Remis. Thank you to our guests, Murat Atesh, Marshall Ferguson, Pat Gregoire of CoolBet, and thank you to our sponsors, Tri-Hospital, Dream Lottery, Clean Line, Manitoba Battery, Rollies, Transfer, Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, St. Vital Dental, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Winnipeg Gold Eyes, Travel, Manitoba, Assiniboia Downs, Aikens Lake, Breezy Bend, Little Brown Jug, and yes, CoolBet. For Michael Remis, Connor Hrabchak, thank you again. See you later. Bye-bye.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.